Right on time. Yeah, it's got to be your first, right? Welcome everybody. Thanks so much for joining in. There's a lot of folks here nice and early, so welcome. If there's any issues with the audio or video quality or whatever, just let us know. It's been like a month and a half since I think I did the last live stream. I'm not exactly sure how long it's been, but it's been a while. Welcome folks. Eric, we got Barry, Fat Philosopher, welcome. We got John, who might be back. Hope you have a good gig, man. Alex, Jamal, Sleazy Q. All right, plenty of folks here already. Alex George, welcome, mate. All right, so we're gonna go for probably an hour, hour and a half or something like that. If you have any questions about gear, amps, guitars, pedals, cameras, whatever, just let us know. Happy to help. So yeah, it's been ages since I've done one of these live streams. I've been kind of queuing up stuff ahead of time for a change instead of like being right behind the release of the video. So it's been good, being able to sort of like stockpile a whole bunch of stuff. So you're gonna see some pretty cool gear coming up, amps, guitars, everything. So I hope you like it. I've actually got a lot of stuff to film next week as well. So yeah, there's a good mix of stuff. Hope you like what's in store. And thanks for all the positive comments on Ben's first video too. I think he did a great job for his first video on a channel like this. So yeah, thank you again. If you haven't seen it, go check out the last video I posted. He's a fantastic player, and as we did more in the day, he was killing it. So yeah, it was great. All right, hey Ray James, welcome mate. Rocks the Blues, welcome man. Hope you're doing well. I really want to do more live streams. Sometimes it's just not practical. It's either like, do I want to just film or do I go live? It's this weird sort of balancing act thing, and going live is a lot easier, but it doesn't get the other stuff done. So it is what it is. I will have more time to do more now that I'm like a month ahead of the queue, which is unreal. It's a good feeling. Hey, Chain Strangers, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I became a father early in the month. Have a coffee on me. Mate, I should be giving you a super chat. Thank you so much, and congratulations, man. That's massive. So well done. Yeah, far out. Thank you so much. I hope it all goes well. We got Ruffer on Rails from Morocco. That's a super cool name. Welcome, welcome. Brent from Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, I like saying it like that, even though I'm terrible at it. I watched your old video, an open mic night preparation for the first open mic I did last week. Oh, very cool. Man, everybody should be going out to the jams. It's the best thing in the world. Open mic nights, jam nights, whatever the case may be, just get out and play. It will completely change your playing, and it's just so much fun. You know, all these years later, you know, I was going to the jams before I started YouTube, and I'll be going to the jams long after as well, whenever that day might come. Or I'll just be doing them both because I love them both. But the jams are awesome fun, man. They're awesome. So congrats. Have I had a chance to try a Friedman amp yet? No, I haven't played one personally. I've heard a few of them in person, and they're pretty cool, but I've never actually played one. So technically, no. If I get a chance to review anything like that, I'll definitely shoot a video here. I know Rick kind of likes those Friedman amps and a few of those sort of more obscure boutique Marshalls in a box. So if there's a chance to do something like that, I will. Or if Rick wants to review it, he can as well. So yeah, not yet, but hopefully one day soon. Donald says, hey Shane, cheers for the recent content, very enjoyable. Hey, thank you so much. I'm trying to mix it up, you know, like rather than just doing all lefties, having Ben will open up a lot of opportunities, and I think it'll also help grow the channel too, because there's just so much I miss out on being left-handed. And there's just so much great gear out there that I'm interested in hearing or picking up and looking at. Obviously, can't review it very well playing upside down, so yeah, it's great to have someone else contribute. And again, if like Rick ever wants to do videos whenever he's free, he'll always be on the channel. He's been doing videos on the channel since like 2008. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I think the channel will hopefully sort of start to expand in that regard. And there's also another reason why I'm doing this as well with Ben, and I'll let that cat out of the bag pretty soon. Anyway, Alan says, hey Shane, have you tried any other Peavey Bandits 112s like the Teal Stripe? Yeah, absolutely, man. The Teal Stripe's great. I actually did a gig, I did a number of gigs in San Francisco with a Teal Stripe Peavey Bandit. They're loud as. So yeah, I think they're all good. I think there's just something good about that red stripe one when you compare it to newer versions. And also when it comes to some of the older ones as well. The old Teal Stripe ones are really old. They're like an 80s amp. So they're starting to really show their age. And you usually find them with scratchy pots. They're pretty messed up visually a lot of the time. But the red stripe ones you can still find, you know, in relatively good condition. But the Teal Stripe ones are great. Yeah, absolutely. There's a video of me playing at this place called Revstars in San Francisco a long time ago. When I first bought my butterscotch Telecaster, I was using a Peavey Bandit Teal Stripe. And it was awesome. I used that and I used this $39 Delta Lab Tubescreamer. I can't remember the model number, but it's still great. I got it in the cupboard over there. But yeah, great amplifier. Ear-bleedingly loud, no questions about it. I've tried just about, well, not all the Bandits, but a lot of Bandits over the years. I think the drive channels got better as they became more modern up until that red stripe one, because you can get great sort of like off clean tones out of that vintage channel on the red one. Or just live on the clean channel. That'd be my recommendation. It's been weird. I've actually been getting so many messages about Peavey Bandits on Instagram and emails lately. Like, everyone's like, oh, have you tried exactly this one, the Teal Stripe one? Or what do you think of this one? And yeah, they're all good. Even if you can find a Silver Stripe one, they're loud as nobody's business as well. Hey, Dennis, welcome, man. Jamal's back. Welcome, mate. Hope you had a good vacation. That's super cool. Do I have any recommendations for 5 to 10 watt amps for output sound from multi-effects? So you want to go out of a multi-effects pedal into a 5 or a 10 watt amplifier? Yeah, I mean, there's plenty, but I always say a good amplifier should be, for home use especially, should be 5 watts or less. 10 watts is going to be starting to get too loud. But if you want a 10 watt one and you want a larger frame amplifier, you can get a Marshall DSL40, which you can switch down to 10 watts, and that's really cool. Or you can get a Marshall DSL5, which is a great little amplifier. That's a valve amp as well. The Bugera V5 Infinium is another really cool one because you just get like a clean pedal platform basically. And that can be switched down to like 0.1 watts, 1 watt or 5. And that would be my 3 recommendations. There's plenty out there. I mean, artists make this really great little Tweed amplifier that's kind of like a Fender Champ. It's kind of like a copy and it sounds great. I'll link them down after the video too so you can check them out. Stu says, I got a Blackstar HT1RH and cab set up, but my problem is it's so difficult to get a clean tone out of it and it's become so quiet. Okay, so maybe one of the, I don't know if that's a valve or a tube amp, but if it is and it's dropped volume, odds are the output valve has started to go. Or even the preamp one can have those kind of problems too. So I sort of feel like, how many watts was it again? I guess it's 1 watt, right? So yeah, that's not going to have a lot of clean headroom whatsoever. Have you played the Marshall SV20? I have. I got a video coming up in about a week. I played it a couple of weeks ago. It's killer. The video is scheduled in the queue, so hang in there. It's one of the most fun amps I've played in a long time, without giving it away. It totally rocks. It's really good. Let's move. I think I'm out of focus slightly. Let's fix this up. Sorry. Bear with me here. Is that better? I don't know. Anyway. Have you... Oh, yep. Is Ben going to demo the right-handed Yamaha Revstar standard? I've actually got the video coming up. It's the next video in the queue. So hang in there. Another one that's... I don't like releasing daily videos. I'd rather just space them out like every 3 or 4 days or something like that. So the next one's in, yeah, like 2 or 3 days time, and it's that guitar, and then I think the Marshall's the one after that. It's great. You know, I didn't know if I don't really know if I liked it more, to be honest, than the RSE20. I thought it was, like, I liked the stainless steel frets, but other than that, I don't know. It's not really something that I think is leagues ahead of the one under it. I kind of like the simplicity of the first one that I tried, but yeah, I have done a video, and it's the next one in the queue. Why do these big guitar companies still discriminate against lefties? It's not the 1970s. You're allowed to be a lefty. Yeah, exactly, Alex. I don't know, man. I think, you know, obviously a big part of it is that not as many left-handed guitars sell as right-handed. But the problem with that is, once you already own, like the one Epiphone Dot that they've released, or the one Epiphone SG, it's not as bad as it used to be, or Squire, whatever the case may be. Fender and Squire have gotten way better over the years, and so have Gibson, but there's so many guitar companies that have always just had that one. And then once their guitar sales drop, they probably think, oh, we might not bother releasing another left-handed guitar, when probably in some reality, a lot of those guitar players already have the one that they've released. So I don't know, man, it doesn't make sense. PRS is a great example of, they should release way more SEs for lefties, and they don't. So I don't know, it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Hey, Slush Puppy, welcome, man. How do I feel about hybrid amps, tube preamps, solid state power section? Yeah, fine. I like all the other ways also good, like the Music Man RD120. Those things are one of the best amps of all time. I think it just comes down to whether or not it works and it sounds good for the style of music you play. I almost couldn't care less what the valve configuration of an amp is, or what the solid, you know, if it's got a solid state preamp or solid state power section, as long as it sounds good. So yeah, I'm not as like particular about that sort of stuff. I know some people might be, but one of my favorite amps of all time is the Music Man amp, and that's got a solid state preamp section, which makes sense because it's kind of like giving you what like a pedal would in the chain almost in terms of its gain. It's super cool. How good was the Revstar? Philip McKnight still raves about it a few weeks after his review. Good SG alternative. Yeah, absolutely. It's great. I mean, look, if it isn't, I'm going to say so. Like, my thoughts on the Epiphone Casino, you know, pissed a lot of people off, but I thought that was like the worst guitar I've played in a long time. These absolutely obliterate that guitar, and it's right up there with some of the higher end Epiphones. I wouldn't say it's like better than an Epiphone, like one of their 50s or 60s gold tops or Les Pauls, but it's right there. The standard, probably in terms of its configuration, is better, being you get those stainless steel frets and a few other appointments. And the thing I really liked about the RSE20 is it had that high pass filter thing, and that's like one of the best designed things of all time. It really is. It kills all of the push-pull pots that do the coil tapping. At least that's my impressions of it. Now, when it comes to the one that's coming up next on the channel, the mid-boost thing I didn't really like anywhere near as much as the high-pass filter. So, or the whatever the mode was called on that guitar. There's some weird name that makes no sense. But yeah, there's something special, those things. They're really good. I actually went back, when I took the guitar back, I actually got a price on it. I was like, how much are these? And I was like, oh, geez, that's actually pretty good. I try not to let the price dictate the performance of a guitar. I don't usually look it up until after I'm done, because I feel like if you know it's expensive, or if you know it's, you know, 130 bucks, you're going to make assumptions based on that. And I was shocked at the price of those RSE20s. So yeah, I haven't seen Phil's video, but yeah, I'm glad he likes it because I'm a big fan. Sorry about the chats flying. I'm right behind here. Attila asks, hi Shane, have you tried the Marshall 2525C Mini Jubilee yet? Yes, I have. It's in the queue. So I've got two Marshall videos, the SV20 and the 2525C. Both are coming up. And those two videos, by the way, I shot in a different format out of maybe boredom. I'm not exactly sure. I just thought I'm going to try something new. They're very short videos, but they're right to the point. And it covers everything. So I just thought I'd try these and see how they go. Both those amps are awesome. I think I probably like the SV20 slightly more, but it could go either way, really. They're both pretty good fun. If you have any specific questions about them, let me know. But yeah, great amps. Shane Duffy says, hi Shane, I have a Fender Tone Master Deluxe Reverb, a player strap with some Fender pedals. I just wanted your thoughts on the Santa Ana compares with the Ibanez Tubescreamer for blues. You know what? I can't remember off the top of my head what that Santa Ana pedal is like. I think from what I remember about it, the Tubescreamer is going to have less top end and less low end, and it's going to give you a more pronounced mid sound. And it will probably sound better for like straight up kind of blues stuff. It might not be as full range though, so if you need the extra top end or even more gain, probably the Fender pedal will be the way to go. But you can't really beat a Tubescreamer with any Fender amp. I think they're a tough thing to sort of overlook. But yeah, I can't remember what it sounds like. It was quite a long time ago when I did those videos. I've tested out so many pedals, and that one I don't recall. I think it's green, right? It's either green or red. I think it's like a green color. Anyway, short answer is I don't 100% remember, because I do remember borrowing it, and I shot like all those videos in a day and a half or something like that, and it's all a blur now. Just I tell you what, the best thing to do anytime you're wondering about like which pedal sounds better than something else, or just look up both pedal videos, or type in Tubescreamer in the blues and Fender pedal in the blues, and it will come up. What was it in particular that you didn't like about the Orange Tremlord? It sounded horrible in the mix. It just got buried between everything. It got buried in the drum mix. It just had no 3D projection, which is the biggest thing you will never hear anytime you're just playing an amp at home. Being that I test out stuff and play it live a lot, it's like the ultimate test. And after going from the Orange Tremlord to the Marshall had all the attitude in the room. It was sitting in a place in the mix where the Orange amp just was nowhere to be found. The Tremlord sounded okay clean, but as soon as you get drums and bass and another guitar player, it sounded way more scooped. It didn't have a nice band mix sound at all. I've heard some of them in isolated recordings sound pretty nice, but that one didn't. I don't know if there was something up with that one or what, and yeah, I just didn't like it at all. Hey, Guitar Man 45, welcome. I'm just going to crack this open. GRB Aquatic says, recently picked up a Yamaha Pacifica and Vox Valvetronic VT40 Plus for a bargain. Both were amazing. Very cool to be so happy with the purchase. That's great. It's always good. You never want that buyer's remorse thing, man. It's the worst thing in the world. Hey, we've got Janice here. Welcome. Chris says, hey Shane, speaking of left-handers, which direction do you run your pedal board? Tuner, compression, drive, etc. So you have to run it right to left because the outputs are on the left. So there's no reverse method for a lefty. I run mine tuner, and then I've got my modulation pedal, the VS Audio Vibler, the Royal Flush. No, sorry, the Boost Dash, and then the Royal Flush, and then my Crazy Tube Circuits delay pedal. I put a video up about my pedal board not long ago. If you type in the blues pedal board, it should come up. It'll be like obviously the most recent one. I used to run my modulation pedals after the drives, but I don't anymore. I have it beforehand. Oh, the Marshall MG15, man, those things are awesome. They're great little amps. Anyone here using a wet dry rig for playing pubs, clubs? No, not me. One amp's enough. I used to try running sort of like a stereo rig. One Fender amplifier I had two Hot Rod Deluxe, or I had a Blues Deluxe and a Hot Rod Deluxe. I used to run them in like a stereo setup, but it ended up causing too many ground loop issues for me. I just, every time I'd go to sing, I'd get shocked. It was brutal. So I just stopped doing that pretty quickly. G'day Shane, what battery powered busking amp would you recommend? The Boss one. It's oh no, sorry, it's by, well, same company, the Roland one. It's what's it called, the Cube Stage or something like that. The Cube. If you look at it, hang on, I'll find it. It's called the Street Cube. God, it's close. The Roland Cube Street. Yeah, the Cube Street or the Street Cube. Get the bigger of the two. They sound way better than the really small one. It's not even close. Rick and I went and played in the city a few times and with that amp, just with our electric guitars, and it was awesome. I have the Artist TweedTone V, plenty loud for home use. That's a great little amp. Absolutely, yeah. That was the one that I mentioned before. It's a cool amp. I think that also sounds best when you start running your effects into it as well, if you don't like just a straight up dry sound. So yeah, they're super cool. We got Eric says, morning Shane. He's in, I don't know how to say that, Adirondack or something? Adirondack Mountains, upstate New York. Freak snowstorm yesterday. Oh wow, no power for 15 hours. Mate, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. That happens where I live. Every now and then the power goes out for like 2 or 3 days, man. It's brutal. Anyway, yeah, it's no fun. So hope you're doing all right. Oh, man. And it's cold too, huh? So I don't know what the heating situation is like there, but yeah, that's brutal. What amps have the best or easiest to dial in edge of breakup tones? An overdrive pedal. Actually, there's heaps. I mean, the problem that you have is how loud you want to be, right? Like that comes down to picking the right amp. I mean, Princeton sound good. Deluxe Reverb sound good. You can get that out of just about every Fender amp if you turn them up loud enough. It depends if you want one with a gain stage or if you just want to turn up. So there's all of these sort of factors as well. When am I going to do another live with Texas Blues, Elliot? You know what? I really want to do something like that again. It's been ages. I was thinking about inviting everyone on again at some point. It's been so long. I don't know what happened. We all just sort of stopped doing it. I think part of the problem with, and it's not a huge problem, if I didn't organize it, nothing happened and nothing's happened. So I'll get onto the guys and I'll see who's free for a chat coming up, and we'll do some more stuff. I'd like to get Michael Palmisano back on and a few other guys. It's just one of those things that, you know, it sort of gets pushed back and you think, oh yeah, I'll get onto that, and it never happens. But I'll see what I can do. I'd actually like to do another one of those. Digitech is disappearing. Wonder if their pedals will skyrocket. I hope not in terms of price. I don't mind their stuff, but it's not worth paying a fortune for them. There's plenty of other and better options out there for the same price. But yeah, don't overpay for that kind of stuff. It's like when the Boss Fender FRV1 reverb pedal went up to like $400. It just wasn't worth it. Now the price has come right back down again. So I don't know what the deal is with that. Don't go paying through the roof for Digitech pedals. Hey, Quicksilver, welcome, mate. Sorry, who's this? PRS says he doesn't sell proportionally the lefties. It produces 10% lefties, and since the beginning they haven't sold well. Well, he's also like cornered his guitars in at like the highest end of the price point. I think one of the ones I borrowed years ago was like 10 grand. Like, who's going to buy that realistically unless you're a left-handed doctor or lawyer, right? Like, no one's going to spend 10 grand on a guitar. If he produced more affordable lefties, they'd sell like nobody's business. I know for a fact that so many shops sold lefty versions of that SE that I've got, the Custom 24. And now that everybody who wanted that has probably got it, he's not going to, you know, he has to release something else. Otherwise, like, why would you buy a second one, right? So I don't know. I think one a year would be enough. Like, just release one lefty every year for 10 years and all of a sudden you'll have a great range of lefties. But what I don't know. I'm just sort of rambling here. Alessandro says, "Hi Shane, thanks for all your content. If you can afford both but only buy one, would you choose the DSL1 CR or the Bugera?" I'd buy the Bugera V5. Yeah, 5 watts is sometimes a better thing to have, but you can also turn it down to less than 1 watt. So overall, I think it's more versatile. I think just as it stands, the Marshall probably sounds better, but if you're using pedals, then definitely get the Bugera. It just has it has more options. If you're not using pedals, the Marshall's probably the way to go because you do get that drive channel, but it maxes out pretty quickly in terms of headroom. I have a Fender 3 Mark II V2. Okay, Mustang, yeah. I love it, but rarely get it to 1 of 10 in my small room. Yeah, they're super loud, man. I bought the Bias FX IR now, so do I get a small amp, non-solid state, or monitor speakers? If you're using software, buy a good set of studio monitors. If you're going to be doing everything with a computer, just get any good set of studio monitors you can afford, but don't go any smaller than 6-inch drivers. That'd be my 2 cents, because if you ever want to turn it up, you get the feel. The bigger the speakers are, I've got, I think these are 7-inch drivers in these Atom Audio ones, but my other set is the KRK Rocket 8s, and those things are super loud. I'm almost thinking about switching them back. You know, I've had these in here now for, well, in this studio and the last for, how long's it been? Probably 3 years. And these are far better to mix on, but they don't have quite the headroom in terms of volume as the KRKs. So I'm thinking about trying the KRKs again. It's just been a long time, but yeah, if I was in your situation, rather than buying an amp, because then you don't need all of the software, I would buy studio monitors. Robin says, "Hi Shane, I share your love for the American Sound pedal. Any advice on how to get the most out of it and other similar concept pedals you'd recommend? The AC tone really can't compare." You know, that pedal's actually pretty good. I used both of those on a album that I produced instead of amps, and we were able to get great tones out of all of that stuff. So yeah, it's basically, you got to think about it like, if you're just using it on its own, it's very different to how you'd use it if you're running your pedals into it. And that's how I kind of ran them. I'd usually set them up so it would sound as close to a deluxe reverb as I could get. Then I'd run my drive and dirt pedals and all that into it. And then after that, I'd have a reverb and a delay pedal. And that was the cleanest and best sound going out into the recording. Those pedals are fantastic. I can't recommend them enough. For 40 bucks, they're so good. You've just got to try to experiment and find the sound that works. Like, if you don't know what kind of sound you like, any of the gear is going to be problematic. But if you know you like, hey, I like a deluxe reverb, or I like a bassman, then you got to start dialing in that mid, what was it called? The voice control. And that allows you to kind of get the push tweed sound, or the more heavily mid-scoop sound. So experiment around. I think that's part of it. You can't just plug it in and try to get a great sound without fiddling around. So fiddle around with it. That's how I work all this stuff out. And it all comes down to your ears. So if you know you like a certain type of sound, really spend some time, but run your delay and reverbs after it before it goes into your audio interface. Have I tried any Quilter amps? I've tried one live a long time ago, and I thought it was all right. I didn't know if it was really any better than like a Peavey Bandit, but I'll try and get my hands on some at some point in time. But I think the guy that has the corner on that market here in Australia is like, yeah, it's a bit of a mess. So I'd rather see if I can borrow one off a friend or something at some point. But I haven't tried them enough, no. Can you rent amps in Australia? If I need a big amp, I just rent it. You can, I think. I don't. I find those things probably I remember looking into some of that stuff a while back, and I was like, man, this doesn't sound like much of a bargain. So, yeah, look, I have seen those services. It's like Australis Music, maybe, something like that, but I can't really remember. Would like to know which pickup configuration is the most versatile, HS or SH? I think if you've got a humbucker in the bridge that you can coil tap, you know, you've got more flexibility there, and it also gives you an additional noise. Well, it depends on the guitar, but you can also get that noise cancelling position on some strats just between bridge and middle with single coils, and some don't. But with a humbucker in there, you'll get that, right? So that's always good. I would say that's more versatile than just a straight up. Oh, did you say, or the other way around? Yeah, I think if I was going to put a guitar together, I'd put the humbucker in the bridge. That would be what I would do. Sorry, I just saw your thing here. Hey, Jamal, thank you, man. Far out. I'll get back up the chat in a sec. What were the challenges you faced when you first started both playing with others, then doing it live with an audience? It's a goal I have for myself to do, and your advice is more than welcome. All right, so you got to dive into the deep end, man. I wasn't jamming with anybody before I started playing live. I just went to the jams. I went there like for 6 or 7 weeks in a row and never played. I would have my gear. I would never get up until I sort of got a sense of what people were like. And they were like, you got your stuff here? Are you playing tonight? I'm like, nah. And I just wouldn't, because everyone was far better than me. And I think it sort of comes down to the day they literally just said, all right, this is it. You're getting up no matter what. It was the best thing that could have happened to me, because you realize people are going to work within everybody's limitations. I know when I play with some of the drummers at the jam that can't keep time very well, or they can't play anything interesting, I work with their strength, which might just be straight ahead shuffle, right? So I just make sure that I'm playing to their ability rather than confusing them and making a train wreck for myself. And a lot of the guys that were at the jam at that time pretty much did the same thing for me. They're like, all right, what do you know? I'm like, I know this riff. All right, we're doing that. And that was it. I didn't do any solos. I didn't do anything. But my advice would be, don't play lead guitar over the solos of somebody else, and don't play over the singer. And you don't always have to play notes between the vocals. So compliment whoever's leading the set. If another guitar player is also singing, then all you need to do is play something alternative to them. And it could just be as simple as playing some chords. That's why I always like jamming with albums, because you got to find a spot in there that works with it, rather than just playing the part that someone else is doing, because that's complementary. And then, you know, generally speaking, the rooms are pretty supportive, so no one's going to ridicule you or say, oh, you know, you suck or anything like that. Just get out there and start doing it. It'll change your perspective on playing guitar for the better. It's awesome. Do it, mate. When I come to Texas, we're jamming. All right, thank you again, mate. Far out. Floodland 9999. He says, lightest Les Paul style lefty that didn't suck. In a lefty. All right, I'm trying to think of all the light ones I've tried. Give me one sec. Man, I'm just like reeling off guitars in my head. You know, the lightest Les Paul lefty I might have played might have been a Gretsch, but if you're looking for a straight up like Gibson or Epiphone, the Gibson Tribute wasn't too bad in terms of weight. That was pretty good. What else was it? Yeah, the tributes are interesting because they don't have the visual stylings of the standards, but they sound so good. That was pretty light. I'm trying to think of what the light ones were. Let me have a quick look here. I'm just going through my list for you, man. Yeah, it's probably pretty tough to find like a really lightweight mahogany body LP style guitar. And off the top of my head, I can't think of any others. If anyone remembers a video where I said, hey, this was a lightweight guitar, let us know, because I'm just going through my list here. And I don't really see any that really stood out as being like super lightweight. Other than maybe one of the Gretsch guitars, one of the Electromatic ones. That was pretty light. Sorry, I don't have an exact answer. Jack says, hey Shane, hope you're doing well. I saw your video on the Boss Next Tone amp a while ago. Do you still use that amp? Oh, have my thoughts changed? I actually sent it back. Yeah, Roland are like a weird bunch of dudes, and I wanted nothing to do with them after I ended up doing a couple of videos with them. So I just ended up shipping all the stuff back in a box. So in terms of the amp itself, it sounds great. It's actually pretty cool. I like its simplicity, but yeah, I don't have it anymore. It was just an amp I ended up shipping back to them. And that's nothing to do with the product. It's got to do with everything else. Hey, we've got NJ here. Welcome, man. I'll just go back up the chat here. Sorry about missing a whole section here. Have you used the Dinosaur compressor from Jam Pedals? I haven't, no. I haven't tried their compressor pedal before. I've got one more sitting here that I've been meaning to review for like 2 months. I keep forgetting, but it isn't the compressor, unfortunately. Most compressors kind of do the same thing at the end of the day. My suggestion is try find one that's not overly complicated. There's nothing worse than a compressor with 15 knobs. That's overkill. So 4 or 5 knobs maximum for a compressor. I don't know what that one looks like, by the way. So if it's fairly simple, it's probably going to be great. They make great stuff. Eduardo says, hi man, first time I've caught you live. Love your stuff. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. I placed my order with Toman for the Revstar, but last email I got was the guitar was expected in August of 2022. Wow, okay, far out. Maybe they're just selling out like crazy. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the hype behind them's been insane. So, yeah. It's not too long to wait. It sucks, but it's not as bad as it could be. If it was going to be 6 months, forget about it. I have a feeling you'd be able to pick up a used one before then. People buy and sell stuff pretty regularly, so you might be able to pick one up, snag it slightly cheaper on the used market. Biker Mouse says, thanks for your answer, Shane. Monitor's 5-inch plus. It is. Yeah, try and get 6-inch monitors or larger, but don't go any bigger than 8 because it's overkill for a lot of rooms. I used to do a lot of mixing, a lot of producing albums and live recordings for bands and myself and everybody. And yeah, any bigger than that in a small room, it's complete overkill. If you've got a really small room, you can get away with 5. But if you've got a room where you can kind of set it up properly and you can listen properly, even though you're not maybe technically mixing stuff, it's good to have it, them set up evenly spaced and all that kind of thing, especially if you plan on doing any recording. GRB Aquatics says, Shane, have you used the reissue Marshall pedals like the Governor? So, no. I don't think I've reviewed any of those. I may have reviewed... Actually, I think I did review one of those at some point, but I reviewed the original ones a while back in one video. It was like all 3, the Governor, the Blues Breaker, and something else. I borrowed them off my good friend Dave, who seems to get shout-outs in every video, but he's got everything, so it works out well. I have tried the Blues Breaker 2 pedal, but I don't know if I've tried any others. At least none off the top of my memory that I can recall. I've got to, yeah, it's funny now. There's so many videos on the channel going back so far. It's really hard to really pinpoint whether or not I actually reviewed something or whether I just looked at it. It gets a bit tricky. Have I tried the Jackson Audio Optimist pedal? No, I haven't. It sounds cool though. Any thoughts on the Yamaha THR versus the Positive Grid Spark? I'd probably go for, yeah, look, it's up to you, man. It depends on your personality. The Positive Grid stuff never really like excited me as much because of all of the options. I've always talked about this now, but I like just plugging in and playing. I'd rather take a Joyo Jam Buddy over any of those things because, look, the Yamaha one's fairly simple as well. It doesn't really give you the option paralysis thing, but the Joyo Jam Buddy is maybe one of the most underrated things. You plug in, you play. That's it. It's very cool. But they're both got their pros and cons. The Yamaha sounds more like a produced guitar track, so it sounds pretty great. That's one thing I'm going to have to review at some point as well. I've tried them. I've just never done an actual review video. Is it Lefty says, just came on. Have you talked about the new Orange solid state amp? No, I know nothing about that one. I'm out of the loop. Fill me in and I'll take a look. Oh, all right, the chat just flew down here. Let me see what we got. We've got Steve from Birmingham, welcome. LP Studio is lightweight, Tribute, and the Modern. Oh yeah, the Modern isn't too bad at all, actually. I think they're like pretty underrated. Some people don't like some of the finishes on the Modern stuff, but tone-wise and feel-wise, they're great guitars, and they do have that sort of routed out. What do you call it? They're like routed internally under the top, so they've got those cavities in there, makes them lighter, all that kind of stuff. The chambered. Let me scroll down. Does anyone know how close the LP standard 50s neck compares to a custom shop 58? The 50s, the custom shop ones are generally a little bit fatter. I know when I picked up Rick's guitar, I think he's got a 58. I was like, oh, okay, so this does feel a little bit different. I don't know the technical reason for that. I know when I had a custom shop VOS 56, and that neck was huge. I don't know if the 58 was bigger or not, but yeah, if you get a 50s, they're going to be kind of similar, but custom shop ones have a different feel to them overall. I don't know what it is. It's just the way that they've finished them on the back of the neck. Miroslav says, hi Shane, I have a Yamaha G100 with a 212 Swamp Thing. Very cool. Thanks to your videos, the Eminence rules. Is it a solid state? It is a solid state amp from the 1980s. I think this is the best solid state amp ever. What's your opinion? You know what? I think this amplifier is at a shop not far from me It is. You know what? I haven't tried this one before. I saw it in the window of a guitar shop and I was like, I don't know what that is. I mean, it says Yamaha on the front, but I hadn't tried it. I might go past and see if it's still there and see what it's like. I wouldn't be surprised if it's great, man. I mean, you know, the solid state amps back in the day were loaded with good speakers from most companies. You know, it was before they started really skimping on stuff like that and making them junk. You know, so yeah, I'm really keen to check that out. That'd be super cool, mate. Eminent Swamp Things, good choice. If I've missed your question, guys, just @intheblues because I know the chat just moved quite a lot. Fox Guitar Rock says, it's cool seeing right-handed guitars being reviewed on the channel. Thanks, man. So I've had Rick on the channel since 2008, right? So he's probably made 50 videos, which has been awesome. But obviously he works full-time too, and I kind of want to grow the channel and give someone who might be visiting the channel a different perspective than just my stuff, because Ben's a pro, right? He's been through music school. He's a great player. He worked at a music store that was pretty prominent here in Melbourne for a long time, and he knows his stuff. And he was like the perfect guy for it, because I know he's kind of like got all the tools. And I said to him, we're going to follow the same format of my videos. I'm not going to tell you what to say. At the end, if you don't like something about it, or if something's great, tell everybody. If you don't like it, mention it. That was the conversation we had. So that's what he's done. And I think the more videos that you see come up, obviously he's going to get, he did a great job, but he's going to get more comfortable at it, and people will get used to him and all that kind of stuff. And he's just a great dude, man. I'll get him on a live stream at some point too, or a podcast or something, because he knows so much about music and guitars and all that kind of stuff. It's unreal. So it was just worth a shot. We'll see how we go. If it doesn't work, doesn't work. If he gets sick of it, he doesn't have to do it. It's that simple. There we go. Alexander said, finally scored a PedalPal 800 pedal. Would it sound good through a Marshall DSL40? So you bought a Marshall pedal to run through a Marshall amp. So you didn't need it, is basically what I would suggest. The Marshall DSL40s have awesome drive channels. It's going to sound different to that pedal, but it's going to sound great. But you don't necessarily need it if you have a Marshall DSL40. The crunch channel is kind of comparable to those pedals. They're really hard to get. I saw Lewis, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but he posted a thing on Instagram saying, hey, we've got some in stock, and they probably went like that. Actually, Dr. Rick's got my PedalPalFX at the moment, so he's loving it. He's playing it through his little Milkman amplifier, which is kind of like a Princeton. I think those kind of pedals really shine on a clean channel. So if you're going to be running it into the Marshall, just run it on the clean channel and see what you get out of it. It's going to sound killer, but kind of unnecessary still. Have I reviewed a Lefty Brian May guitar? No, I haven't. Can you gig using 2 Joyo Bandit amp Jackman in stereo on a 112 cab each? Yes, you can. Yeah. The only thing actually, they might be okay, but sometimes, I spoke about this before, sometimes when you run 2 amplifiers, you can get grounding issues, or ground issues, which can give you either a lot of buzz, or if you're singing, you'll get shocked on the mic. So just be careful with that. Make sure everything's earthed properly. Sometimes you need to go, if you get a lot of hum inherently, and you're using like an ABY box, you may need to run a DI box instead, which can give you the ground lift thing. It's kind of complicated, but there's all these different ways you can run it. You can probably actually go out of one of the amps into the other one or something like that as well. I think they've got effects loops from memory too. CK says, have you checked out the Keeley Fuzzbender? No, I haven't. I haven't tried a lot of his pedals actually. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, maybe less. I can't really remember. His compressor's great. I don't remember the other ones I've tried. Springo, welcome in. All right. I was just about to jump on an Epiphone Modern LP and came across Guitar Center's limited edition custom LP Silverburst. That sounds pretty cool. I went for the classic since it's my first LP, but I strongly recommend the Modern. The Moderns are great. They really are. I've got a review of the SG Modern in the queue, and that sounds unbelievable. I'm not really like an SG fan, but I really like that one. It's pretty cool. Hello from England. This is from Ingo. I started learning how to play guitar recently and a big fan of Metallica. Should I buy a wah pedal or an overdrive first? I laughed because if you don't know, Kirk Hammett says he invented the wah pedal. He's a great guy, actually. I met him years ago. He's super cool, and he's shorter than me. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, look, my instinct is to forget the wah pedal because it will cloud your playing in terms of note clarity and all that kind of stuff. So find the distortion sound that you want. I would say go for a distortion over an overdrive for playing Metallica as well. You kind of want something with a bit more high gain that has the chug sound. So check out distortion pedals rather than overdrives and save the wah for later. That's what I would do. This is from Shannon. He says, "Hi Shane, have you played through Mesa Boogie 550 Express Plus?" You know what? I have, I think. Let me just double check. I get so confused with all of these Boogie models because they all sound the same to me for some reason. My friend Brian had a combo that had like, I think 2 identical channels. I don't know if it was this one or not. Let me have a look. Oh, no. You know what? No, I haven't. Sorry, this looks different. So I haven't tried that one. My favorite 2 Boogie amps all time would be the Studio 22 and the California Tweed, which isn't Tweed, but it sounds amazing. So look up that one. But yeah, I'm sure these are good. Look, I always find Boogie amps to be really specific tonally. They can sometimes do a lot of things, but they don't do a lot of things well. It's like the, what is it, a jack of all trades, master of some, and their some is their higher gain tones. Their cleans can sound clinical sometimes to my ear. Their overdrives can sometimes absolutely kill, or they're not very inspiring. So my suggestion with those is try find the configuration of a Boogie amp that really delivers the tone you're looking for, because if you want it for its beautiful clean tones, I would buy something else. But the higher gain tones, or if you can push the amp up loud, man, that's where they really start to shine. Some of them get kind of lost in the mix as well, and others just have one of the best tones you'll ever hear in a room. That Studio 22 is well worth checking out. CK says, "Oh, by the way, Shane, thank you for putting me onto Artist Guitars. Absolutely insane quality for the price. Cheers, mate. TC59, very good. Is great. You don't need a gym membership if you're rocking that thing for gigs. Very cool. Yeah, they are kind of heavy, but they're great guitars. No worries at all. The Artist Guitars are kind of like, I guess, like Australia's answer to Harley Benton or whatever the case may be. They're super cool. And thank you. Ryan says, "Tele question, had an Ocaster bridge pickup that was very microphonic, swapped it out for a Twisted Tele, but it just doesn't have the oomph. Any other recommendations to try out for a swap?" I'm just trying to think of like traditional Tele pickups. You know, I always think the best Tele pickups I've had have always had like a brass base plate on the bottom of them. I don't know if that's part of the oomph of those pickups, but some don't have it, and those are the ones that have generally been pretty lackluster. You could try getting something that's known as a hottest... Oh, excuse me, sorry. I got the Pepsi Max burps happening. You could get something that's just normally hotter, like a Texas Special, and see how you go with that. I love the Joe Budd and Danny Gatton pickup in the bridge. Although that's not technically a traditional single coil, it sounds basically the same. It's not a dual rail pickup in the sense like a Seymour Duncan or anything like that. And I think those sound unbelievable. But they're not the hottest pickup either. So I would experiment around and just adjust the height of it slightly. See if you can bring it up or down on one side, bring up the treble side a little bit more, and see if that helps the overall output volume. Sometimes less hot pickups, or generally I would say less hot pickups, usually sound better. And it could be just passive versus active, or high impedance pickups versus low, whatever the case may be. So yeah, but you can play it safe and look into Texas Specials. Generally they've got more output than some of the other ones out there. If you've got a traditional 50s style Tele bridge pickup, they have a lot of tops, but they don't always have the most pleasing sound to some people. So yeah, it could go either way. Can you play metal with a Fender Elite Shawbucker humbuckers? Let me have a look. I mean, look, any of these guitars you can pretty much play anything on. It doesn't really matter. Let me just have a quick look here. Yeah, that'd be fine. You wouldn't have any problems getting... The only pickups from Fender that don't handle gain very well are those wide range humbuckers that they made in the thin line Telecasters. Those are awful. They're like horrible pickups, in my opinion. They squeal easy. They got a really weird sort of high end, and I just don't think they sound very nice. But any traditional humbucker pickup, or even single coils, you can rock out and play that kind of stuff. Just look at the Aguefish channel. He's great at that. Hey Shane, I'm after a P90 gets. Oh, the chat just moved. Sorry. I didn't read the rest. Hey Shane, I'm after a P90 guitar. What would you recommend? Thinking Yamaha Revstar or Gibson Epiphone Les Paul Special. Yamaha Revstars are pretty cool, you know, like they are. They're more affordable than Gibson. They're more affordable than some of the Epiphones as well. So they've kind of positioned themselves in a really good spot, and they're worth giving it. You know, they're worth giving a shot. But if you've got your heart set on a Gibson, that's what it isn't, right? It's a different sort of guitar, or an Epiphone, right? The one thing I can say about the specials, that you got to watch the neck, especially when it comes to the P90 neck pickups. Sometimes they can sound too muddy. I had that same problem with mine, which I never really liked the neck pickup on mine a whole lot. The bridge pickup and both pickups sounded great together, but the neck pickup wasn't always good. And I think the Epiphone Les Pauls kind of suffer from that as well. That's not to say they're bad guitars, but you just got to be sort of, you know, you got to be into that kind of sound. Yeah, I mean, look, if it was me and I was choosing between Yamaha Revstar and an Epiphone, for example, I would be putting it up against like their 50s Gold Top or 60s humbucker version guitars, because they're kind of on par. If you're talking like, I know the Revstars make the P90 versions, which I haven't tested yet, so I can't really comment on them, but yeah, the shape of them is different, the feature set's different, and you got to love the aesthetic as well, because they do look different. But yeah, sorry, I missed the start. It says you were looking for a P90 guitar. So yeah, I would say I'm almost tipping. Well, I would say the Gibson P90s are hard to beat. I know that much. The Yamaha Revstar ones, I'm sure, sound great. And I don't love the neck pickup on an Epiphone Les Paul Special, or the Gibson on that one. But you know, Gibson P90s are weird. Like in some guitars, they cook on the neck position. So I don't know if they're just overwound on that particular model. It's hard, man. You got to take a good listen to all the videos you can find, because you'll find that you'll either love the neck pickup sound or you won't, depending on what you play. I actually have a video coming up about that pretty soon, so hang in there. Sorry for the long waffled answer. I wonder if anyone here is a fan of Frog Leap Studios and Leo's work. I don't know who that is. The name sounds familiar. Let's have a look here. Wow. Oh, okay, the metal thing. I have seen this channel before, but I'm not subscribed. Yeah, I don't watch too many like music cover channels. I don't really get that sort of much out of it, but it's cool. So nice hoodie. Thanks, Quicksilver. Hey, yeah, there you go. Matches your name, man. I just noticed that too. I forgot. It's my only surf hoodie. I got this for like 25 bucks or something. It was awesome. I was like, oh, I'll get this. Hey Shane, is a 65 Deluxe Reverb reissue operational if I remove the vibrato channel tubes and only use the normal channel? I don't know. That's my honest answer. I'm not sure. My instinct would be not to do that. Like, why would you take the valves out of it to begin with? And you also run the risk of, if one channel is working at a gig and you don't have the valves in the other channel and you need the other channel, you're screwed, right? So yeah, I wouldn't go doing that kind of stuff unless you know what you're doing and you can check to make sure the amp's not cooking. They are technically separate channels, but I don't know if the signal passes through it or anything. I'm not an electronics guy, so I'm sorry, I can't help you. I want to give you the wrong info. What do you think of the Mustang versus Towmaster versus Catalyst versus Katana? Get a valve amp. That'll sort you out. And then you can forget about all that stuff. Nah, look, it comes down to what you need, right? I would just prefer something simple these days. I'm not going to buy any menu diving amps or any of that kind of stuff. Just, it doesn't interest me at all. I've been there, I've done it, and I've moved on. I'm loving this little artist TweedTone again. It's been one of my favorite amps. We've got a whole lot of videos coming up featuring that amp in the signal chain because it's easy and great. Do I have any recommendations for a home small gig tube amp? Man, plenty. I mean, like, I need more info. So, how many watts, price, what kind of music you're playing? These are all factors. My Harley Benson is a no-name P90s with the gold copper top, are sweet, much sweeter than I expected them to be. You know, another guitar that's actually got a great neck P90 pickup in a Les Paul shape is the Artist one that I reviewed. That thing kicks ass. It's so good. The neck pickup in that is clearer than I think that my Gibson Les Paul TV yellow one was. So yeah. The two heavy hitters to come out of Australia in the blues and Alexander Volkanovsky. Very cool. What about Brett Kingman, man? He's been around as long as me, or almost as long. He's been around for years. He's awesome, man. What a player that guy is. Hey Shane, do you ever play wet dry stereo? It's funny, everyone's asking about this tonight. No, I've answered this like 2 or 3 times. I just find the earthing becomes too much of an issue, especially trying to sing. There's always ground loop problems, all that kind of stuff. The most fun I had playing live, actually, I think there's some old clips of it going back a long time ago. I was using a Peavey Bandit pointing out to the front of house. It was a big stage, and I used a Hot Rod DeVille pointing backwards behind this big pylon that was separating sections of the stage, and we were playing a trio. And I had the DeVille cranked, man. It was super loud. So that was fun, but I also had to run a DI box to do that properly. It's just unnecessary at the end of the day. It was fun, but it was unnecessary. Fuzzoff says, how are you liking the Supersonic? Lent mine to a friend for a jam, and now he's asking to buy it off me. You know what? Sell it to him. I'll tell you why. I loved the sound of that, and I got some good recordings with it here at the house. We did a live session with it, and that was the night that all hell broke loose with issues. I ended up having to return it. I filmed a video about this. I did a full podcast, got to the computer, forgot I had it on the card still and didn't transfer it, wiped the card, had no file. So that was the end of that. I had so many problems with my Supersonic 22. The first time I used it, I played with Brian, one of my good friends who had the deluxe reverb, and we were playing out live. Like, I actually just took it from the shop, took it to the jam, and there's this high frequency sound that just started, and we thought for sure it was the PA system, right? So we're like trying to work out, you know, we're dialing all the PA system down, all the volume levels and stuff, and it had so many problems. Like, that was the first thing I thought, that couldn't have been the amp, right? Like, didn't think much of it. Anyway, so we get into an isolated recording situation here where there's 5 of us, or 4 playing, and Rhiannon was doing the switching. And it did it again. The high frequency came back, and then it went like an AM radio sound. It went like, it was making horrible sounds. And thank you, Anjay. I'll give you a shout out in a sec. So after that, we troubleshooted it by removing, I had a spare set of 12AX7s and all that, so we're trying to find out where the problem is. It became super microphonic, like out of nowhere, right? And the noise floor of the amplifier went up like 5-fold just by plugging in the foot switch. You'd get all this crackle and hiss and pops and all kinds of weird stuff coming out of it, and this high frequency. Unplug the foot switch and some of that would go away. And then other times it was there. Other times I lost my top end completely. Other times it was back to being at its full brightness. And Rick and I were on the floor. Dave K, my other friend, he was on the floor. We're all looking at the back of the amp, trying to figure out like why is this microphonic sometimes and not other times? Anyway, so I took it back to Sky Music, and they said we had another one come back with exactly the same problems. And funnily enough, this was part of the podcast. I had another one in the shop. The one that I played in the shop had issues. It had crackle and weird sort of noises that were just coming through. This was on the clean channel or the drive channel, right? It didn't really make any difference. And I said, oh, look, this one's a bit on the crackly side. Do you have another one? So the one that I bought wasn't a floor model. It was a different model, one straight out of the warehouse, and still had problems. So after that, I was like, man, I'm bringing this back. And yeah, I was lucky enough to get my money back because I was really, I dodged a bullet with that. I was like spewing that it had problems, and yeah, it sucked. So that was my experience with the Supersonic 22, and that's why I don't have it anymore. It's a shame because the recording that we did here sounded great when it was working, but it was interrupted by us fiddling with this amplifier for 45 minutes, trying to work out what the hell was going wrong. And at the end of the day, the artist TweedTone was pretty much doing what I needed it to do, and it hasn't ever let me down. So I thought, all right, I dodged a bullet. I did a Control Z or Z, and now I'm back to square one. Let's just not do anything stupid. So yeah, that was going to be a podcast. I was spewing. It took me like 45 minutes. I put in all this other content into the podcast, and then yeah, that was the end of that. So anyway, I hope I would flip it. No, if it works, keep it, man, because if I see another one come up that's old, I'll probably end up thinking about it again. But I don't trust the reliability of these new ones. If 3 amps all have similar issues, this is like when I noticed the Blues Juniors all had faulty reverb tanks like 4 years ago. So, NJ, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I thank you again. That's £5, man. It's like 200 Australian dollars. Thanks, mate. Do I still have the DSL40? Yep. You know, every time, it's funny because this is it here. It didn't come with a case for it, so Dr. Rick gave me a old Vibral, what was it? I can't remember what amp it was, but it fits the DSL perfectly, and he didn't need it. So yeah, he gave me that case. So that one that's on the right, the biggest amp out of the 3, is the DSL. It's a great amplifier, still going strong. So yeah, anyway, that's how I ended up getting rid of the Supersonic 22. It's a real shame, and I was like embarrassed that I had so many problems because I loved the sound of it. I always liked my Supersonic 60. It was just a real pain. Have you ever played a MIDI guitar called the Jamstick Studio? I haven't, no. I've never played it. I don't think I've ever played a MIDI guitar. I don't even know if I've seen one. Do I like Gladiator movies? That's interesting. Yeah, I liked that movie when it came out, the Gladiator with Russell Crowe, I think it was, like probably 20 years ago. I don't know how long ago that was, but it was back when DVDs were hot. And that was pretty cool, but yeah, I'm more into like obscure and weird horror movies and 80s stuff. I like 70s and 80s movies the most. Even though I wasn't a 70s kid, I was an 80s kid. I'm starting to get like some of these posters here, like the zombie one, that's a 70s movie. Actually, I also like some of the older black and white things too. But yeah, I like all kinds of stuff, but 80s would be my favorite period. Action movies, comedies, all that kind of stuff. There's just so many good ones. Looking for a Telecaster around 1500 to 2000 thoughts. You know, the Player Series stuff, I know that it depends where you are too, man. If you're in the US, that you could get like a Professional 2 Tele, and that would be great. You know, like that would be as good as you'll probably ever need. I mean, I don't know what you've played in the past, but they're awesome. They're probably the best production model I've seen Fender make in a long time. If you want something a little different, the ones that I use are the American original Strats and Teles, and those are awesome as well. So yeah, you can definitely get lots of good stuff. If you don't want to spend as much, the Play Series stuff is really solid as well. But if you're right-handed, there's plenty to choose from, man. There's just so many more than you can get as a lefty. Nordgram says, hey Shane, did you ever compare the quality of right-handed guitars with the quality of the left-handed copy? That's interesting. No, I haven't done that before. Might be an interesting experiment at some point. I'll keep that in mind. Urban Exploration, welcome mate from Radelaide. Very cool. Thanks for joining in again, mate. I appreciate it. All right, how long have we been going for here? Let me have a look. It doesn't tell me the time anymore. Oh yeah, it does. 1 hour and 11. All right, we'll wrap this up probably in about 20 minutes. So I can timestamp this for everybody watching it on the playback. Hey, VS Audio's here. Welcome, mate. We got your one of your overdrives coming up in a bunch of videos alongside the Boostash from ST Electronics. They're both on my board. Super cool. So welcome again. Actually, I've got to send you guys an email coming up too. I want to run something past you and see if you're interested. It doesn't involve me getting pedals or anything. I just wanted to put something past you and see what you think. I found the tone better on the Bassbreaker 30R than the Marshall. Yeah, I mean, look, it's all subjective stuff. The Bassbreaker 30 is a killer. A good friend of mine, Rob, bought one recently, and it sounds unreal in the mix, and it sounds great on its own. It's just pedalless, all with pedals, it rocks. The trick to the Marshalls is you've really got to dime the master volumes on the right-hand side of the amp, and then run the channel volume loud. If you don't, they can be too bright, which is why I ended up changing the speaker, and now it sounds far more like the Bassbreaker in terms of its top end response. It's not quite as bright as it would be normally with that Celestion V-type speaker. So yeah, I modified my amp to sort of tame the tops, and I think it sounds fantastic. But yeah, you've got to fiddle around with the Marshalls a little bit more, but you've got to also run them hot, otherwise they don't have the throw. But in the room when you turn them up, man, it's pretty special. Jamal, no worries, man. I'll timestamp your question if you missed the response earlier, or if I missed your response to it or whatever, so you can find it again. I'll do that after this. Do you wear earplugs when playing live? Sometimes, but not all the time. Anytime I'm in a room, like if I go to an open mic night or a jam, I've always got them in. 100% of the time, unless I'm playing, then I'll take them out. If I'm right next to the drum kit, I'll leave one in and one out. If I'm in a situation where it's not loud, I won't use them. If I'm singing, I have to take them out. I just can't, you know, it just makes it all of that harder. So yeah, Police Academy is awesome. Police Squad, Naked Guns are classics. Man, I love all of that stuff. And Leslie Nielsen's, he's the man. Do I know anything about Rivera? Era solid state Fender amp, Psychic 65. They were made in Japan in the 80s and 90s. So some of those I've heard of, but no, I don't think I've actually tried those. I've tried Rivera amplifiers before, but Psychic 65, I don't think I've actually tried that anyway. I did a Guitar Search Saturday at this place in San Francisco once called, oh, what was it called? Oh, I can't remember, which is crazy. Anyway, it's on the channel. I think there was one of those in there. They had all these old school, like solid state Fender amps just piled on top of each other. So no, I haven't tried one or videoed one or demoed it, whatever, but I'd love to try some of that stuff. It'd be great. How's the girlfriend's guitar lessons going? I don't often teach her stuff. I've just been showing her like stuff as she's ready to learn. I got to get her into learning some bar chord stuff just because it ends up opening up the fretboard. But she caught on pretty fast. It's like, it's great to see. You know, there's some people might have better dexterity than others. She played, I think, when she was like 5 for or something like that. She said she picked it up a couple of times or at school or something like that. But it's been a long time since she got on guitar, and yeah, she's doing pretty great at it. So please, oh sorry, there I've already answered that. Hey, we've got a super chat. Thank you, Urban Exploration. Appreciate that. So in the blues, into weird horror, a few that come to mind are as follows: Tusk, Yoga, Hoses, Siberian Film. I don't know any of these, man. Anything with Paulie Shorey. I'm more into like the obscure Italian. Well, I'm not just into them, but like the ones that are I would consider are obscure. You know, the anything like Demons or Suspiria, or even this version of Zombie here as well. This is crazy. I love that movie, man. If I was ever to, I mean, I got the mask here too. This is the thing I bought for that short film we did in Halloween last year. This thing is so cool, man. And it makes this crappy light look heaps better too. Everyone's like, what's with the mask? I always see comments about this thing. It looks so good. Yeah, if I was ever to have an opportunity to remake a movie, man, I would remake this. I would love to do that. I reckon that would be so much fun. Yeah, the Zombies, like the unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead. But man, I got a cupboard full of old movies, you know, old DVDs from back in the day. Do you feel with the Gibson Les Paul tribute models you're missing out versus the standard? Not really. Tone-wise, they're indistinguishable, and I think a lot of people prefer the neck feel, not having that super high gloss. A lot of people will say you've got to get a standard over the other one, but that's not necessarily true. I've owned just about all of them over the course of 20 years. I've had a standard, I've had a tribute, I've had a special, I've had the 70s one, all kinds of stuff. All right, let me just get rid of this guy. All right. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You just find the one that you like the feel of and play that. No questions. Wanted to thank you, Shane. Your Q&A last year. Your answer to my questions about gas resulted in me finding my tone, playing more now than ever. That's great. I read that backwards, I know. Sorry. Yeah, it comes down to just putting the time in and dialing in your sound with what you got and knowing what you're looking for with your gear. That's part of the whole tonal challenge. Just buying another guitar won't make your current amp sound any better, right? It comes down to having, I think, a better amplifier or a good amp that gives you a great sound to start with, and then whatever guitar you put into it is great. I feel like that with the ones that I've kept, and the less stuff I have, the more inclined I am to want to play, and there's just less distractions. You know, I moved so many guitars on recently that I have probably 50% of my double door cupboard empty now. And I feel so much better doing that. I don't hang them on the walls. I don't, you know, they're not my decoration. I'd rather be using them, right? So yeah, good move. Well done. And thank you. I now have 3 artist guitars, Cherry 58, very cool, TC59, and the Grunge Master. All 3 are absolute quality and a joy to play. They're great. I'm glad you're enjoying them, GRB Aquatics. I've got more artist stuff coming up probably in a couple of months' time. So hang in there. There's a few that are awaiting delivery to them that are then coming to me for review. They've got some new lefties. And if Ben enjoys doing these videos long, you know, over the course of a month or 2 or 3 or whatever, he may actually also do some right-handed ones. That'll be cool. South Guna 86 says, I still have the receipt from my first guitar. I bought it from Ishibashi and imported it to Melbourne. These things that 18-year-olds should know before being able to play Smoke on the Water. Yeah, very cool. How many guitars do I own and which ones do you currently play the most? The one I'm playing the most is the Kiesel S5 with the Johnny Highland pickups. It's like a custom guitar. It's the best of a Strat and a Telecaster, except it's lighter. It's got way better ergonomics. It's got stainless steel frets, and it's effortless to play. And the neck pickup is every bit as good as the best Strat I've ever played, and the bridge pickup is Telecaster all through and through. So that's the guitar I'm currently playing the most, but I go through phases with stuff. Sometimes it's the PRS, because that's just easy to play. It has no fight. And last Sunday I took out my Strat, but over the last month, the one I've been playing the most is the Kiesel, because it just is great. It's one of those guitars, when I got it, I loved it. And then I had all this like damp issue in the cupboard here, where it threw out most of my guitars in one way or another. I either had to get the electronics looked at, and I had to get them all set up. So I had like 5 guitars down at the shop waiting to get fixed. So it threw out the action. And when I got it back, I still had it in the back of my mind that it was still a bit hard to play because of the damp issue, but it wasn't. It was set up beautifully, and it's been the guitar I've been playing a lot. So yeah, it's super cool. And you know what? I looked at my Flying V the other day and I thought to myself, I'm going to start using that more, because it's such a great guitar. And out of all the humbucker guitars, I think it's the lightest one that I've got. And it's just like the burst buckers are just so playable. They're really, really cool. More artist content will be cool. It's coming up. They sort of just send me an email from time to time and say, hey, do you want to review this? Yes or no? And I make a decision based on that. But a little while back, they let me know that there'd be a potential for more lefties. And then I emailed them saying, hey, if you want any right-handed stuff done, I got a friend who can help. So yeah, that's kind of how that's working out. We'll see how we go. But there'll definitely be more this year. No questions about it. I know I probably missed some stuff in the chat here. Just add in the blues me if I did. Amanda's here. Welcome. How you doing? Sometimes the chat just flies up here. Generally speaking, does a small speaker sound better than a big speaker when dialed to a quiet dB volume? Not necessarily, no. It's sort of, smaller speakers are inherently not going to have the same sort of vibe as a larger speaker. And I would say a 10-inch or 12-inch speaker both can sound great. But once you start talking about 8s and 6s and anything smaller than that, they're very, very different, right? It's a completely different thing. The bass response is going to be different. The amount of throw is going to be different. But if you just want them for playing at low volumes, I would try and find whatever amp it is with at least a 10-inch speaker or an 8 at the very minimum, but where you can turn down the amp to like 1 watt. Because any louder than that, it's just going to be too loud for home use. Even 5 watts can be too loud a lot of the time. Hey Shane, I just bought a Supersonic 100 head. Have you played it and what do you think? You know, Kyle, congrats, those amps are killer. I've seen those back in the day when they first came out, but I've not played one before. I was so close to, when I bought my Supersonic 60, I was like, do I get the 100 watt head? I know that sounds crazy, but what put me off that was how heavy it was. I mean, it's got all the tones in there, man. You got all that clean headroom too. So yeah, that'll be the real deal. So I think that's a great sounding amp, no questions about it. But I think they're like brutally heavy, right? Let us know in the chat. Do you know how well I've got at hiding massive cardboard boxes from my wife? Oh man. Yeah, I got a couple of guitars in boxes over here too at the moment, and they take up so much space. I was also gonna throw in an unboxing tonight, but I'm not gonna do it because I'll end up having to do too much cleanup later, and I'll just wait till I release the videos. Is my my thought process here. A lot of the time, I hear my friends who are married. Man, it says volumes about their relationships, but they're always like, oh, I always buy a guitar that has the same case. So, so when I bring it in, it looks like the same one I've always had. Like, Man, that's just not good. Oh, Todd, thank you, man. Here's a little something to help you fund the US trip that got cancelled 2 years ago. Would love to see Guitar Search Saturday at Southpaw Guitars. Hey, thank you so much, Todd. It's going to happen, man. It's going to happen this year. At some point in time, that trip is on the cards. So, you know, one of the big plans I have for this year is to do that trip again at some point. So thank you. And I'll definitely be giving you a shout out in the credits, mate. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, this year is going to be a good... I said this earlier in the year too when I hit 100 million views was I'm going to try and mix up the second half of the year. And that's kind of also why Ben's involved now, because it allows me to get enough content ready if that trip goes ahead that I can also be releasing stuff on the go as well as already have stuff in the queue in case there's something up with trying to release content while I'm away. So, hey, thank you again so much, Todd. I appreciate it, mate. Everyone else who super chatted as well, thank you. We got heaps here. Exploration, Urban Exploration. We had Anjay. We had Jamal as well. Chat's not going all the way back here, but yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you. Do you own or play bass? I do. Yeah, absolutely. So all the backing tracks are me playing bass. I love playing bass. I play it live at the jams whenever I need to, and it's a great instrument for getting in a really good pocket for playing rhythm guitar. One thing I've learned about bass, I played it all day here making backing tracks, right, for the session I did with Ben. And I got all these new backing tracks put together. And then that night I went and played guitar. My rhythm guitar was right in the pocket. It's a great instrument. It really forces you to play differently and think more rhythmically and listen to things you might not be listening to as a guitarist, including the kick drum. And everyone hears the snare, but you don't often connect in the same way as you would if you play bass. So yeah, I love playing bass. It's a lot of fun. And thanks again, Todd. Far out, man. Thank you. All right, we'll probably wrap this up in the next 3 minutes. Aglari guitars made in the same factory as Harley Benton. You know what? I don't know. I've never seen a Aglari guitar before. Yeah, it's just one of those brands I've never run into. Not that interested in having a look at them, to be honest. Yeah, I think it depends on where you live and what you can get and what's at your disposal. Like, I always get asked, what should I buy, Harley Benton or an artist guitar? It's like, where do you live? What's the easiest one to get? Because they're both kind of similar, right? That's probably how that is as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they're made somewhere similar or, you know, who knows? I don't really understand how all of that works. But I recently scored a tubeless Max 60. Any idea what it cost me to retube it? You know, I don't even know what that is, man. Sorry. That's from Snarky. I don't know that amp at all. You know, I've done a full video about the Katana and the GTX 100. They've both got their pros and cons. It just depends on what you're looking for, man. Like, I feel like one's better at Fender sounds, the other one's kind of like better at using pedals with it. But if you're buying the Fender, it's kind of got all of that built in, right? So depends on your situation. Go check out my video. I did a full breakdown of that. Preferred gain pedals for the DSL, the classic crunch channel. I don't use drive pedals with that amp at all. If I do, I'd probably use a clon or something like that into the classic gain channel. I don't need to though, because those amps, right, the DSL40 has two identical channels. It's got two classic crunch channels, so you can dial one in as an off clean, switch over and you've got your lead tone. It's just awesome. Have you considered doing do the amp got bass kind of video? As in use a guitar amp and use it as a bass amp. No, you don't really want to be plugging your bass into a guitar amp and then turning that up. You can get away with it at low volumes, but yeah, that's probably not worth frying speakers for. Would be my opinion, because those bass speakers are quite a bit different. Yeah, I wouldn't do that, but yeah. Anytime I record bass, I'm literally just going straight into my Steinberg audio interface here, this little 2-channel thing, and I hit the high Z or high Z button, which is your instrument line in level, turn it up, and I play. That's it. And then sometimes in GarageBand I'll use like this bass amp emulation thing. It's kind of just like a plugin that gives you all these different amp tones. It's really cool. I'll take a couple of more questions here, then I'll wrap it up. Shane, I got my first tell in. I'm getting static on the pickguard, making the neck pickup crackle. Have you ever dealt with that and how to fix it? Man, it sounds... That's interesting, man. So you're literally getting... Hang on, I'm getting static on the pickguard. What, you can feel static through the plastic, right? Is that what you're saying? That's really interesting. I mean, the only way I could sort of see that ever happening is if you're like on a really heavily carpeted floor and you've got like some sort of like shoe that really makes that way worse. I've never heard of that before. I mean, what you could do to ground static electricity is just touch the strings, right? Like that should just pretty much solve that problem. And you may go click, or you touch something metal and you end up grounding the static there. But I've never heard that. If I'm not understanding this properly, let us know, because I just don't really quite... I think I might maybe have misunderstood what you're asking. Am I into the modeling world? Not anymore, no. I got rid of all of that stuff. The only thing that I use that has any of that kind of stuff is the 2-notes cap door, which I leave set exactly the same always, which is my speaker configuration. That's it. I've tried all of that stuff, and I always find like it just adds more complexity to my situation than I need. It's great for certain people who are recording in the studio full time and all that, but yeah, not for me. Oh, here we go. When I touch it while playing, the neck pickup crackles. That's kind of strange. I would wonder if you got maybe a cold solder joint in there somewhere. Maybe something's not completely grounded would be my guess. Because usually if you touch anywhere on the guitar that's metal, there shouldn't be any buzz coming through anywhere, which leads me to believe that there's possibly a grounding issue there. Ever give a go at singing? Yeah, I got plenty of live clips on the channel, man. So you can find those if you're inclined. Just type in "as the years go passing by" and "in the blues" and it will come up. One of the last festival gigs I did. Deshaun, thank you, man. Should I go a combo or head with buying a Marshall? Shortage of amps now. Look, this is up to you. What I like to do, and this is just me, other people are vastly different and they'll make up their own decisions, but I don't like having to go back to the car to grab anything. And for me, I've had the head and the box thing before, and what I've found is if you forget just, the speaker cable, you're screwed. There's all these like other things to remember, and I can't get in one trip. But if you're just playing at home, right, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But portability's sake, I much prefer having a combo. Although there is something to be said for the sound of a head and box. I think it's a cleaner overall sound because everything's not crammed in there. You get a much more clean tone. What I noticed between, for example, like a 2-rock studio, whatever I had, the combo and the head version, the head and box sounded far cleaner than the combo did. So yeah, and you can also, the benefit of having a head and box is if you need a 2x12, you can get it. If you want a single 12, you can get it. You don't have to keep buying new amps. So that's a huge advantage there as well. A shortage of amps. I mean, the shops here have got plenty. I'm not sure where you are, but yeah, plenty of amps in the shops that I'm at. But you might be right. Maybe the production's slowed right down. The transit's got issues and all that kind of stuff too. Oh, there we go. I'm not sure. Cosmic says, I've seen static on the knobs fixed with an O-ring under the knob. Oh, there you go. That's interesting. How's the weather down under, mate? Had snow in Detroit a couple of days ago. It's been raining the last few days here, which is why I'm now in a hoodie instead of enjoying nice summer weather. Just changed not long ago. All right, we're going to wrap this up pretty soon. I'll just take this one. This is from Cass and John. I'm considering the purchase of a Marshall DSL40 combo. I don't think I'll have any use for the super high gain tone as a blues player. What channel modes do you find myself using the most? So the crunch channel, or the classic gain channel it's called. So there's a clean and a crunch channel on the left-hand side. I use the crunch channel, sometimes the clean, but mostly the crunch, and I'll set that up as like an off-clean tone. Then on the second side, there's a crunch and a high gain. So you can set that up on exactly the same channel that you had on the first one, but you can set that up with more gain. So generally I would run the gain at like 10 o'clock on the left channel and then about 1 or 2 o'clock on the second one. The trick to getting great tones out of that amp is to just crank it up on the master volumes if you can. If you're in a situation where you can't be as loud, just run it on 20 watts. It will still sound good, but that amp really opens up at 40. So if you don't think you're going to be at 40 watts, you might be better. Yeah, see, the 20 watt one doesn't have the classic gain channel, but man, it's a lot of fun. Either way, it's super cool. Let's just see. Ever tried any Silvertone or high watt amps? I tried a high watt amp once, yeah. Silvertone, I think let me have a look. Yeah, I lose track of all the stuff. No, I haven't tried a Silvertone amp, judging by the Google images here. I've seen these before, but I've never played one. Yeah, these pop up a bit in used guitar shops, but yeah, no, I haven't. All right, we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to try and timestamp this, so it's going to take me, how long's the video? We're an hour and 40 minutes, so it's going to take me at least another hour to timestamp all this on fast speed. Hey, we got brother, is it Gillum? It says, what's up, Shane? Is purchasing the Floyd Rose worth the extra money? I don't like Floyd Roses, but if you like to dive bomb and you like to shred, you might get a kick out of it. But if you don't plan on using the whammy bar and like using it all of the time and doing crazy stuff with it, stay away from it. If you're new to playing, it's just a nightmare. I hate using Floyd Rose just because of that. I love the idea of them when they're in the hands of someone who can use them properly. But for a guy like me who doesn't ever do any of that stuff, I would say give it a miss. All right, guys, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for all the support on the channel. Thanks for making Ben feel welcome, and thanks for all the super chats and questions. And if I missed your question, just post in the regular comment section after this. And as I'm doing the timestamps, I'll reply to any questions I missed, because I know I did miss some. Sometimes it just flies by here. So thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it. And I will, yeah, there's more videos coming up, so stay tuned. There's plenty coming up. And what was I going to say? Yeah, I'll timestamp this anyway, and you can, if you joined late, you can watch it back. Rock on, everybody. Thank you so much. And I will catch you very soon. See ya.